Most people don't realize how much of their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making millions pulling details about you from public records and the internet, then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance, all backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might just sell credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/hidden. Protect yourself now at aura.com/hidden.
Hey listeners, this is Peter and welcome back to the History Shorts. Today's episode is brought to you by the Podcast Republic, your ultimate listening app. Discover and subscribe to thousands of podcasts from around the world. Download Podcast Republic today, available on Google Play and the Apple App Store. Today on History Shorts. In the heart of ancient Rome, in a small circular temple at the edge of the Forum, a fire burned. It had been burning without interpretation for centuries, and it was tended by 6 women. And if it ever went out, if the flame that represented the sacred hearth of Rome itself was allowed to die, it was considered a catastrophe of the gravest possible omen. The women responsible for that fire were called the Vestal Virgins. They were, in one of history's great paradoxes, simultaneously the most restricted and the most powerful women in the Roman world. And when they failed, or were accused of failing at least, the punishment was unlike anything else in Roman law. Our history brief today returns to some strange history. A quick word from our sponsors.
Owning a home is full of surprises. Some wonderful, some not so much. And when something breaks, it can feel like the whole day unravels. That's why HomeServe exists. For as little as $4.99 a month, you'll always have someone to call. A trusted professional ready to help, bringing peace of mind to 4.5 million homeowners nationwide. For plans starting at just $4.99 a month, go to HomeServe.com. That's HomeServe.com. Not available everywhere. Most plans range between $4.99 to $11.99 a month your first year. Terms apply on covered repairs.
This day in history. On April 18, 1906, a devastating earthquake struck San Francisco, followed by fires that destroyed much of the city and left thousands dead. On April 18, 1942, the Doolittle raid saw American bombers strike Tokyo for the first time during World War II, boosting U.S. morale after the attack on Pearl Harbor. Story of the day. The institution of the Vestal was, by Roman tradition, established by Numa Pompilius, the second king of Rome, who reigned in the 8th century BCE. Whether that precise founding is historical or legendary hardly matters here. What does matter is that by the time Rome became a republic, and then an empire, the Vestal Virgins were already ancient, an institution so deeply embedded in Roman religious and civic life that their presence was simply part of what Rome was. The goddess they served was Vesta, goddess of the hearth, of home, of the sacred fire that sustained domestic and civic life. Her temple in the Forum was one of the oldest in Rome, and the flame her priestesses tended was understood to be the flame of Rome itself. If it burned, Rome endured. The selection of Vestals began in childhood. Girls between the ages of 6 and 10 were chosen, taken in the ward the Romans used, from Rome's most prominent patrician families. The Pontifex Maximus, Rome's chief priest, selected them personally. Candidates had to be free of physical defect, free of speech impediment, and born of parents both still living. Once chosen, a girl left her family's legal authority entirely. She was no longer under her father's control, which at the time was the absolute legal power Roman fathers held over their children. She now belonged to Vesta. She belonged to Rome. The term of service was 30 years. The first 10 were spent learning, the second 10 in active service, and the third 10 teaching the next generation. After 30 years, a Vestal was free to leave, to marry, to live a private life. Most, however, did not. By then, the temple was the only life that they knew. During their years of service, Vestal Virgins lived in the Atrium Vesti, a large, comfortable residence adjacent to the temple, one of the finest addresses in Rome. And they wielded power that would have been unimaginable for any other Roman woman at the time. They could own property, they could write a will, and they could give legal testimony without a guardian, a right denied to ordinary Roman women entirely. When a Vestal traveled through the streets of Rome, lictors or the official attendants of magistrates cleared the way before her. If a condemned criminal happened to cross a Vestal's path on the way to his execution, he was thus pardoned on the spot. Emperors sought their intersection. Generals held their wills and state documents in the atrium for safekeeping, trusting the Vestals above all other guarantees. In a society that defined women primarily as daughters, wives, and mothers, as legal dependents requiring male oversight at every turn, the Vestals occupied a category entirely their own. They were Rome's sacred exception, and the price of that exception was absolute. The vow of chastity was not merely a religious requirement, it was the foundation on which every privilege, every power, every protection the Vestals held was built. The fire they tended was a symbol of Rome's purity and continuity. For that fire to mean anything, the women who tended it had to embody the same qualities. If a Vestal allowed the sacred fire to go out, she was beaten. The only physical punishment routinely applied to them, administered by Pontifex Maximus in darkness. But that punishment was mild compared to what awaited a Vestal convicted of breaking her vow of chastity. The punishment for a Vestal found guilty of incest, the violation of her sacred vow, was one of the most carefully designed acts of institutional cruelty in the ancient world. She could not be executed in the conventional sense. Roman law and religious tradition held that Vestal blood could not be spilled. So Rome found another way. She was dressed in funeral robes. She was carried through the city on a litter as though already dead, while the people of Rome lined the streets in silence. She was taken to a place on the edge of the city called Campus Sceleratus, the Field of the Wicked. There, a small underground chamber had been prepared. It contained a lamp, a small amount of food, and little water. She was lowered into it. The entrance was then sealed, and Rome walked away. She had not been executed. Rome had simply buried her alive and left what happened next to the gods. Trials of Vestal Virgins were relatively rare, but when they did occur, they were among the most politically charged events in Roman public life. An accusation against a Vestal was never simply about one woman. It was a statement about the health of the state, the favor of the gods, the moral condition of Rome itself. Military defeats, natural disasters, and political crises were all capable of generating accusations against the Vestals. The logic being that if Rome was suffering, perhaps the sacred fire had been compromised. Several Vestals were convicted and punished on evidence that modern historians regard as deeply questionable, victims of political manipulation as much as religious judgment. Others were acquitted in trials that gripped the city. The drama of a Vestal's trial was, in the truest sense, a civic event. The fate of the sacred intersecting with the fate of the state in front of an entire watching population. The institution of the Vestal Virgins endured for over 1,000 years. It survived the Republic, the civil wars, and the empire itself. It outlasted emperors who tried to suppress it and emperors who celebrated it. It ended in 394 AD, when the Christian emperor Theodosius ordered the extinction of Rome's pagan religious institutions. The sacred fire was extinguished. The Atrium Vesti was abandoned. The last Vestal dispersed into the world that had no category for them anymore. Women who had been neither wives nor daughters, neither fully public nor fully private, who had held a kind of power that Rome had invented specifically for them and would never invent again. The fire that had burned for 1,000 years went out. Rome, the empire that had depended on it, was gone within a generation. The History Brief. The following comes from Strange History by the editors of the Portable Press. This kooky Cold War conspiracy theory goes like this. In the early 1980s, President Ronald Reagan feared that nuclear war with Soviet Union was inevitable, and survivors would be horribly deformed. Their offspring would be even more gruesome. So Reagan ordered government scientists to expose human test subjects to radiation, then take samples of their DNA and breed babies. Result: infants with mashed-in faces, beady eyes, and chubby limbs. The government then hired Coleco toys to make dolls based on the infants. Coleco explained their odd appearance with a fairy tale about the children growing in the ground and released them to the toy stores. The toys were a huge success, and mission accomplished. A fun theory, but completely false, obviously. Cabbage Patch Kids first appeared in the 1901 novel Mrs. Wiggs of the Cabbage Patch. Coleco bought the rights to mass-produce the dolls in 1983 after Reagan took office. The theory was started by college student Richard Joltz, who worked at Sears in West Virginia. Why? Well, because he hated the dolls, so he started telling customers that these things were designed to get people used to what mutants might look like after a nuclear war. Soon, other cashiers started doing it too, and then the legend spread and mutated. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today and helping make this little show such a mighty success. If you are enjoying this show and would like to help with its production, you can always donate a few dollars at buymeacoffee.com or become a Patreon member to enjoy these episodes ad-free. Both links can be found on our website at www.historyshortspodcast.com. And don't forget to check out our YouTube channel. Have a great rest of your day, and I will talk to you all again tomorrow.
Are you noticing your car insurance rate creep up even without tickets or claims? You're not alone. That's why there's Jerry, your proactive insurance assistant. Jerry handles the legwork by comparing quotes side by side from over 50 top insurers so you can confidently hit buy. No spam calls, no hidden fees. Jerry even tracks rates and alerts you when it's best to shop. Drivers who save with Jerry could save over $1,300 a year. Don't settle for higher rates. Download the Jerry app or visit jerry.ai/libsyn today. That's jerry.ai/libsyn.